Hello, everybody, and welcome to Module 8. I hope you're doing great. I love a good rhyme. It's early Tuesday morning. You know what? Coming in kind of on time filming this lecture. So, much like you, the middle of the semester hits those of us that are teaching as well. Doesn't mean we can't do it, right? We can all do this, but if you're feeling overwhelmed and like it's just all kind of coming down, you're not alone. I feel like in the middle of the semester, a lot of things are due. Um, we're getting maybe a little bit more tired. It's closer to perhaps some holidays that you might celebrate. And just, can be tiresome. So take care of yourself. And I hope you're doing well wherever you are. I've got my muskrat mug this morning. It felt like a muskrat mug kind of morning. So I'm going to take a sip of warm coffee. Module 8 is about those challenging group members, right? And before we dive into the PowerPoint, I think talking about challenging group members just adds another layer to the role of the leader. So we had a discussion the other day, briefly in my face-to-face class, where a student was like, gosh, it just feels like there's a lot for the leader to do. Or, and the transparency PowerPoint that I think you're going to love, we talk about shifting in from who the leader is to what they must do, how they must be. So if you're thinking that like, oh my gosh, this is a tall order to be the leader. Yes, it can be, but we're also human. So just want you to keep in mind that you are human. I am human. And offering ourselves self-compassion is really important in this profession. Okay, this might sound a little cheesy, but when I'm offering myself a bit of affirmation, I always put my hand over my heart. I don't know where that first came from. I'm not sure if I saw somebody do that, or speak from the heart, but sometimes I'll just say, you can do this. You've got this. Yes, this is hard. Yes, it feels big because it is, but you can do it. So that's just one of those hand gestures that I use that just, again, hand over heart. I don't know. It is early in the morning and I'm drinking from a muskrat mug. So take that for what it is. All right, here we go. Let me pull up this PowerPoint. I'm feeling sassy this morning, if you couldn't tell. Chapter 12. And I'm only going to go through half of this PowerPoint. I'm going to go through, I think, the first 5 types of challenging members. The other challenging group member personalities have a little bit more, from mild, moderate, severe, pathology underneath, okay? Pathology meaning they might meet diagnostic criteria. These first 5 that we'll go over, they might meet diagnostic criteria in some form or fashion, but these are more just general characteristics or how somebody presents. The other ones are going to have a little bit more pathology. So there is a method to my madness, but let's get started. Reframing challenging. Holland says that each group member must be a challenge. Now I would add at some point, group therapy is available to master fundamental life problems, as we know, in the here and now. The then and the there, bringing it to the here and now. The term challenging group member is problematic because it can narrow our understanding of individuals and sometimes bias our opinions. Much like the transference and transparency PowerPoint, I really encourage you to listen to it. Bias around, they're a challenge. And I want to shut them down. I want to put them in this box where they are safe from me and I am safe from them. This is just the human talking, right? Somebody's ruffling feathers, they're getting under your skin. Maybe they're challenging somebody over and over in the group when there's not a point to do that. So we've got to figure out ways to work with different individuals who bring their own traits that overlap in the group dynamic, the client's interactions with the co-members and the therapist. And we must be careful not to pathologize clients and place them at risk for scapegoating. Oh, they're always playing this role, or they're always that member, or oh, they're always going to monopolize the conversation. We want to pull back from putting people in a box with a label, who we think they are, and continue to try to integrate different personalities, different characteristics, different communication styles into the group process. With all of those things in mind, certain behavioral constructs are seen more often within the group process and are absolutely worth attention. Because they are common, there are important things to learn about these types of members, especially as they can direct attention away from the group, right? Here we are working on this process. We've got a lot going on. And suddenly a member yawns and looks really bored as somebody is pouring their heart out. You can see people kind of glance over. Are they bored? You can see the person that was pouring their heart out. Okay, maybe I'm going to stop. That person is now bored of my story. What do we do about that? Do we ignore the person that's bored? Do we encourage the person to keep going that's telling their story? Maybe two can be true. Yeah, keep talking. Yeah, it looks like you just paused. We are here for it. We are showing up today to hear what you have to say. I don't know how I would do with, telling somebody like, wow, you look really bored. That seems very Yalom, but I'm trying to think through that one. I have to think more about that one. It's what's coming up for me now. Just remember, individuals are still individuals. And it's important not to put clients in a box like we just said, but be aware of how to handle these personality traits. And we're going to explore some common themes and roles the group members may fall into in the next few slides. The monopolist talks a lot, sometimes shares things that may or may not be relevant to the group, might interrogate other group members, could share bizarre and puzzling information. Oh, interesting. How did that really fit in here? May share information about or perhaps create a crisis for the group to focus on, kind of bringing the attention back to them. You'll never believe what happened this week. I know we're supposed to be talking about certain skills and blah, 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 but this happened and I want to tell everybody about it. Thank you. Absolutely. But we've got to address the skills we talked about addressing. Are you in crisis? Are you at risk of hurting yourself or anybody else? Again, very generic example. To the group, why are we allowing this member to carry the burden of the session? What fears are the other group members hiding behind? If they stop talking, well, do we have to step up and start talking? Maybe help the members phrase, yeah, when you take up all the space or come in with a crisis, I feel like my story is just not as relevant. Help the monopolist realize that constant speech prevents others from fully relating to them. This seems really bold for me. I sense it would be best for you to stop speaking because there are some important feelings about you in the group that I think would be helpful for you to know. It's very Yalom. But maybe it's saying, hey, so glad that we have heard from you today. We've heard a lot from you today. I wonder what it would be like if we let somebody else take a turn. Or, hey, you have about 1 minute to wrap up because we need to hear from everybody else. Again, we have to be so careful not to shut this person down. We don't want to bring any shame or embarrassment on him, her, or them. The silent client, right? Common characteristics. It is possible for vicarious learning to take place for the silent client as he, her, she, them identifies with active members who have similar problems. But as we know, we would love to hear from them. The more active a group member is, the more influential they become in a group, and the more likely he, she, or they is to benefit. it's hard because we question, are they getting anything out of it? Sometimes it's not for us to choose. Maybe they dread self-disclosure. Maybe they lack those assertiveness skills. Maybe they're waiting to be rescued or just called upon. Difficulty with being vulnerable. Maybe they're threatened by another group member. They've heard this group member make fun of somebody else or interrogate them, and they're just, I'm not even going to risk it. I would rather take this all in and be quiet versus being challenged or made fun of. Maybe we invite group members to reflect on their own times of silence. What does silence mean? Maybe we invite them to participate. Maybe, comment on the nonverbal. I see that you're nodding your head. Would you like to say more? And putting the nonverbal in the same bucket as verbal communication. Just like if somebody were to say, yeah, I feel a lot of shame when that happens. Tell us more. What does that mean? See how we can value and respect somebody's silence and reinforce any participation. Perhaps individual sessions might be more helpful. And just, what's the criteria for the group? Hey, we need you to participate at least a few times in order for you to discharge from the inpatient hospital. We need to know that you know how to use these skills. When you get back home and you feel a depressed episode coming on, and you've heard all these skills, we need to hear from you. We need to hear what ways you think these could be beneficial or what ways you don't think these could be beneficial. But we want to be very, very mindful of the differences in cultures, races, ethnicities, on how that influences communication. That's from eye contact, that's from a respect, a sense of that person seems like they are taking the charge. I'm going to sit back and respect that and just listen. I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to question. I'm just going to listen. Again, I'm not assigning any characteristics to any culture, race, or ethnicity, but considering what that looks like. And perhaps family systems as well. How did your family system influence the way you communicate or not communicate? Were you silenced all the time? Were you told that what you had to say didn't matter? Were you kind of put in a corner and you just learned early on that what you had to say wasn't relevant? What does that look like with a group of strangers? And how cathartic might it be to be able to find your voice and hear, take a risk, because when we say something, we risk somebody might say something else. But our role as the leader is to be coming up with or have come up with the rules, norms, and goals, which could include the safe space and how we communicate. You may even have a rule that you say, hey, if I notice that you are a little bit more quiet or silent, I might say, hey, Katie Veit, haven't heard from you in a while. Could you shed some light on that? Or do you have any thoughts on that? And you can either say, not at this time, or I'm thinking it over. But just know, as one of the rules coming into the skills group, I might call on you just to let everybody know that this could be part of the process. The boring client. Not every therapist finds the same attributes to be boring, okay? So we're like, oh, that's really boring. Here they go again. They lack spontaneity. They also provide safe and predictable information. They often avoid aggression and are often critical of themselves over and over and over. Sometimes these individuals lack the ability to identify and communicate feelings. And so it might be, you notice, they're nodding. Yeah, I feel that way too. I've had that happen before. Yeah, it might work. That might not be that they're bored. It might be a defense mechanism, right? And maybe we get bored of that, right? Of just, oh my gosh, come on, give us a little bit more. Group therapy might be an excellent fit for these clients. and is often more effective than individual therapy alone because modeling support and the opportunity to experience feelings is beneficial. Can also help increase emotional awareness and expression. So again, tell us more. We've heard that you've had that happen. Can you tell us more about that? Again, that might be giving the same responses, both verbal and nonverbal. How can we go a little bit deeper? What you have to say matters. The group tends to tolerate these types of members very well because they play a like keep it moving type of role, maybe. That's interesting. Huh, that's really, really clever. Wow, that's awesome. That's not being rude. Those are just safe responses. Encourage spontaneity. Get off your script a little bit. Counter our own boredom. Maybe we are bored with curiosity. Again, asking them different questions, asking them to go a little bit deeper, maybe trying to uncover what the group member is not sharing in a respectful way. Hey, we've noticed that you kind of stop at that skill might be useful. We would love to hear from you as to why that skill might be useful. Maybe you have some insight that the rest of us don't. Ideally, we've talked about before, this would become between member and member. Members would not take over, but kind of take on that like role of a more leadership position of just, yeah, tell us more. And they start to have learned from your language as spectators to keep it moving, okay, to keep the group moving. So hopefully they will interject more with, tell us more. We want to hear what you have to say. This one needed a big sip of coffee from the muskrat mug. The help rejecting complainer, or the HRC. If I had to say, whew, this brings up something for me. I'm still working on what that is. But an individual that directly or maybe indirectly requests help from the group by sharing problems, and then perhaps complains and then rejects any help that the group offers. These problems are often presented as not having a solution. The therapist will want maybe the member will want therapist's opinion and maybe ignore the group's reaction to them. This client can perhaps view himself, herself, theirself as more in need of help than the other group members. Thus, they might not like attention being taken from them. Maybe the problems are exacerbated. Maybe they have more of a self-focus. They have definitely their own agenda, as we all do, but they have a need to be seen. And even rejecting help, asking for it and rejecting it can still mean a person is being seen. Sometimes the group becomes frustrated with the energy when that individual just does not accept the help. Maybe come alongside the individual, express understanding of their perspective of hopelessness. I can see where this would feel hopeless. That's it, right? Yeah, that seems really hard. And oftentimes people are waiting for us to go, and I think you should try X, Y, or Z. Not going to jump in and rescue. I'm going to validate you that maybe there is no solution at this time. Help the group maintain and establish cohesiveness through universality, identification, and catharsis. Once this happens, group members hopefully could share the way the rejection of help makes them feel. Member just says, hey, I notice that every week you ask us for all this help or support or suggestions, but you never take it, or it doesn't seem to work, or you don't think it will work. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm feeling a little bit frustrated at trying to help you when I don't know if you've even tried the suggestions. It's pretty gentle, but it's being pretty direct that, hey, I'm just curious. Are you doing the work? We're trying to help the client recognize interpersonal impact on the other members. Oops, that's where we're going to stop because they're more pathological. Perhaps in your group process, you're going to be talking about members, certain types of members, maybe from this list that get under your skin, that maybe you might maybe block or not entertain. Again, I don't mind people asking for help. I think as part of our profession, we are not supposed to have all the solutions or the answers. We are not the experts on other people's lives. However, clients, patients, group members sometimes turn to us with feeling stuck. Do you have any suggestions on what to try in the morning? I'll say, I don't know, maybe coming up with a routine. Would that be helpful? No, I've tried that before. Okay. Um, Maybe taking it a little bit slower in the morning just to give your body time to wake up. Nope, I need to hit the ground running. Okay. Maybe taking a shower, just let that water kind of just rinse over your body, kind of like rinsing off the nighttime, welcoming the daytime. No, I like to take quick showers. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. What comes up for me is feeling inadequate. I don't want to give everybody the magic answer, right? But I do hope sometimes I'll throw something to the wall and it'll stick every now and then, right? Like I'll throw something to the wall, and maybe it will stick this time. Not always, but that's where I've got to be really aware of what comes up for me and be okay with, yeah, okay, well, that's all I can think of right now. If you think of anything that's worked, bring it back to the group and share. We're all curious. We all want to see the mornings go well for you. It's coming upon the winter season. Time is changing. We know that seasonal affective disorder really can keep you in the bed. So we're all here for you. We all are rooting for you. We're all in this support group on how to manage seasonal affective disorder, mornings being a hard time. I don't get mad at the self-help projecting complainer. Again, I just sort of feel my own inadequacies coming up because I want to help people. I want to see people be the best version of themselves that they describe as the best version of themselves or themselves so that they can function at the level they desire to function. So making sure I don't transfer what I want for a member onto them. And that might seem like throwing out so many different offers and suggestions and that's me transferring what I desire for them because I want somebody to do well and being mindful that it might not be the time. It might not be the time. There might be in a season where the only change they are making is showing up to a group full of strangers. And this alone is cathartic. There's something about it, whether you are forced to be in a group or you desire to be in the group, or it's psychoeducation, there's something about a group energy or the energy of all of these individuals coming together that can work. It can be cathartic to be receiving feedback and affirmations from other people. And especially, again, if you as the leader start taking notes, I've seen you grow. I saw you try that. And even though it didn't work, you still gave it a try. I've seen you talk more. And when you first came in, you didn't talk as much, so on and so forth. So a long laundry list of what the leader is attending to. So that is my TED Talk for the day. I don't know about you, but I'm going to hit the ground running. I hope you're well. Take care of yourselves and have fun in Module 8.